Welcome to a Real Man Wood podcast. This is Chris Liss, your host, joined by my co-host, Yahoo Sports, Dalton Don. And I'm not really sure why it's just showing your dome on both my video screens. You see me on yours?
Unfortunately, I do. Yes.
I got it set so it may show up side by side. Again, if I can't figure this out, and this isn't my strength here to do video and technical editing, then we'll just do audio like usual. But we'll see. I'm going to try.
Very, very sophisticated, I'm sure, these days to record something visually.
Yeah, nice look, though, dude. Nice look.
Well, I wore clothes this time. The first one I didn't, but no one got to see it. So this time you gave me a. So I decided I threw on a shirt this time, and you don't know about pants, but leave that to your imagination.
Yeah, the ones when you weren't. The one where you weren't wearing clothes, that is now, I actually uploaded that without you knowing, and it is now a huge hit in the horror circuit.
Oh, nice.
I didn't realize what a
Where's my residuals? Where's my residuals?
You should get residuals for that. All right. Well, we didn't have a podcast last week because you were at the FSTA, and how was that? The FSTA is the Fantasy Sports Trade Association. It's a little convention that we have in our industry. It was actually in L.A., which I was a little bit bummed to miss because, I know L.A. because I lived there for so long. How was it? What was it like?
It was fun, more of the same. You were missed. Saw a lot of the RotoWire guys, Peter, Jeff, a bunch of Shannon, a bunch of them hung out, and good times. And then the next 2 days I stayed for a company trip, went to the Yahoo/Oath offices, and just meetings from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. just all day long, nonstop. So it was actually a pretty long trip, leaving from Monday morning. Didn't get back till midnight Thursday. So it was fine though. Cool to see people in the industry, and it was the same. You guys, congratulations! You won a lot of awards. So did ESPN, Draft, Yahoo. We won a couple. But yeah, it's you've been there, done that. A lot of startups that I've never heard of, trying to pass out business cards.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Sounds like a huge waste of time. Now you're making me feel better about missing it.
It's expensive too, the tickets, just to go to. It's like just one night, but it's expensive. But it's a good turnout, and the industry is quite obviously doing well, so that's good.
Yeah. I'm actually bummed because I missed the steak dinner, where I was the top point scorer, and they said they had 7 people there at Taylor's, and the bill was only $700 without me there.
Terrible. That should be like the app. What did they get for the main course?
Who knows? It's a fucking disgrace. I mean, I'm embarrassed to be associated with that now because, what I would do is I'd get the shrimp scampi that was like $35, which is actually cheap because Taylor's is not even that expensive. Their entree as my appetizer. Then I would get the surf and turf as my entree, and it would be market price. Usually be about like $80, $90. And then I get like 5 drinks maybe, and maybe like another shrimp cocktail, and dessert and coffee and a port at the end of the night. It would be like I'd probably order like $250 myself, $220 myself, which at an expensive steakhouse that's not that crazy, but at Taylor's that's really pushing it to the limit. So nobody apparently did that, and it was I just feel bad because the guys who were in last place and second to last place who had to pay for it, they're just not incentivized to do better next year, which is the only reason that's the only reason I eat like that,
Sure.
It's just
I was attempting to make a joke when I said, then what do they order for the main course when you said the bill was $700, meaning that should just be for the the appetizers.
Oh, of course.
When you tell me the bill is that, so then what do they get next? But yeah, I saw some Twitter chatter, and you clearly were missed. It just kind of depends on who the buyers were. Were there people that deserve this sort of getting off free, or did they deserve much worse? Who were they?
I know Tech Tim, who you probably don't know. He's one of our tech guys. Now lives in San.
Of course, I know him.
You know Tech Tim? No, not Tim Schuler.
Of course, I know Tech Tim. He's been to the Vegas.
Oh, right. You used to go. Okay, forget it. Obviously, you know him. So I think he was a double buyer. I think. I don't know because I just tuned out the emails. I didn't really care because I wasn't, as long as I wasn't buying, I wasn't going. I think Vlad was a buyer, and I think Thornberry was a buyer. I think so. Maybe Scott Genstad was like a self buyer. I can't remember. I know that Jeff ate for free, and I think Josh Ross ate for free, and I can't remember who else. Schuler, maybe. I don't know.
Gotcha.
So
anyway, I saw Vlad. He was good hanging out with him. But it was good catching up with people. It was fine. But a lot of meetings and
that's what a waste. Who would bring you to a meeting? I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, and good. It's a good question.
I mean,
it's valid.
What do you have to offer? It's nothing. What do you, I mean, come on.
Very, very little.
You're not doing anything. You're just what the fuck. It's funny. Vlad one time. I can't remember how it came about, but we were in New York on one of these convention things, or maybe it was Tout last year, and he wanted to get some Korean food. He always likes to get the spicy Asian food, which you and I are both down with.
Oh, yeah.
And we found some Korean place. I just Googled like Korean near me and hit maps. And this one got good ratings, so I was like, all right, let's just meet here. It was like 36 and something. And we went, and it was honestly like a top 3 Korean meal in my life. It was excellent. Anyway, just made me think of it.
Where was that?
It was like 36th off of 5th, maybe between 5th and 6th. And it was a reasonably nice restaurant. It wasn't like really fancy, but it got good ratings, and it was really, really good. Maybe Vlad will remember.
We went to one nice restaurant called Neighbor. It was pretty good, but they served it family style because it was like a company dinner, so many people. Had to been so expensive, but you never get a restaurant's A game when it's family style. You don't get to pick your own main course. So it's never quite a full representation.
Yeah, one time actually, I may have told this story before on this podcast, but long enough ago that I feel okay. I usually repeat my stories. Like every 3 years, you'll probably get the same stories over and over. But one time, it was Yahoo. I think you were already working there, maybe not. And they were like having it was a bunch of Yahoo execs, and they were taking Brandon and Barons and Brad out to a very fancy steak dinner in Vegas. And we were all in Vegas, and everyone's getting pretty blacked out. And Andy Barons could not be found. He must have got blacked out, disappeared, gone somewhere. And so they were like, hey, we have a reservation for 6 or 7 or whatever the number was. You want to go in his place? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go in his place. So I went and I got like a super, good steak and appetizers and wine and booze. It was nice. Yeah.
Nice.
So
and you didn't have to pay any of it.
No, I was the company. I was the Andy Barons seat. I probably shouldn't say this on the podcast because now those other guys will get fired. But the thing is,
no, it's okay. It's hardly the first time he's been discovered in a gutter the next morning. Believe me. I mean, on this trip alone, it happened twice. So I mean, this last trip. So don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, Barron's a degenerate. I mean, obviously, everyone knows that. Great. It's not like I'm breaking. There's no news that I'm breaking here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, a couple weeks ago we did the podcast, and I told you about my war with Orbitz. Did you follow along to see what happened? Do you know what happened?
I have a little bit. Yeah, I know that you. I read you wrote a whole article. Yes, I read that. Yeah. Yes. So
we basically. I mean, Heather. Okay, so I'll just go back over it really quick. But Heather made an error. She booked our flights in March, and she booked hers on Miles for a Wednesday to Sunday itinerary, and then she accidentally booked Sasha's and my ticket with cash, with the credit card, on Thursday to Sunday, which is like a terrible itinerary. It's 3 days, it's a 7-hour flight, it's 5 time zones with a 6-year-old, like she'll be 6 at the time. It's just a bad trip. So she didn't realize it until like 3 weeks later, but it was still December, which is 3 months before the trip. She's like, oh shit, I put you guys on the Thursday flight. I got to go fix that. So she calls Orbitz, and instead of being like, oh, it's $150 to change, which we were worried about, like $250 change fees, $300, they're just like, no, you can't.
Only.
What's that?
If only.
Right, and that would already be ridiculous because the flight we're trying to change to was cheaper than the one we got accidentally booked on, meaning it's like they were having a harder time filling the other one up than the one we were on, so what do they care? But they said, no, you can't change it at all because you booked through Orbitz, you got to talk to TAP. So we called TAP, they said, nope, you didn't book through us, you booked through Orbitz, take it up with them. So they both pawned us off on each other, and so we got supervisors, all that shit. Nobody was willing to do anything. I called Chase. The credit card she booked, no, we can't. Did they deliver the date they said they would? Yeah, I mean, they did. It was an accident, but okay, then we can't do it. You can't do it for fraud. Trip insurance, nope, doesn't work. You need some sort of like illness or something like that. So, I was just like, all right, so our choice was book a 3-day trip to New York. I mean, 4 is still too short, but, we're working, but at least there's something. Or just eat $1,000, just lose the tickets and buy them back. I started thinking about it, and I was like, that's just not, that choice is bullshit, right? When they could just change it. Somebody could change it, but just because of policy and the way there works, they were not empowered or willing to change it for me. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is not a choice I accept. So I wrote that blog on Medium detailing the whole thing and just how these companies, they just make a policy that fucks you and it gets them more money, even though there's no business purpose for it, right? It's not like, oh, well, you're trying to change your flight the day before the flight, and that seat's going to go unsold, so you're costing us money. There'd be a purpose in charging a penalty if you book the day or a week before the flight leaves, because obviously they're losing money on you because you switched. They have an incentive to get you to commit. But 3 months out, when the other one's cheaper, there's no incentive. There's no legitimate business purpose for not letting us just switch. So I just, got a lot of my Twitter followers were really good about it, and they kind of piled on. And I don't know if this is what did it, but Orbitz called me like an hour after I did this. I CC'd the CEO of Expedia, which is the conglomerate that owns Orbitz and all these, hotels and a bunch of other Travelocity, a bunch of those sites, Hotwire. And I CC'd Mark Stopa and asking him like whether being misled into or having not a very sufficient disclosure only behind a fine print hyperlink constitutes being a member of an afflicted class for the purposes of a class action lawsuit. I was like CCing Stopa, and I was having these legal discussions with Ted Bell. I think Ted Bell's a lawyer, actually. He listens to our podcast. He was like, yeah, a lot of people would want to get involved. We were just chit-chatting about it while CCing the CEO of Expedia. I'm not sure if that helped or not, but I do know that after I started doing that, about an hour later, the fixer from Orbitz called and refunded the flight in full.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the conclusion. I didn't know that. All right.
Refunded that shit in full. Okay, so we got all the money back. Then, since I already complained to Chase, and they had seen all the Twitter stuff, and they were added in a bunch of Twitter posts, a couple days later, they said, we're so sorry, we looked into your thing, but since it wasn't fraud in the sense that they did deliver the flight that you accidentally signed up for, we can't, not pay them. But here's 50,000 miles for you for your trouble. So I got that shit refunded in full, and they got a bonus 50,000 miles. And
happy ending. It pays. All it took was just like 48 man hours and a couple years of your life, and just you're good to go.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was so worth it. It was. Well, it's worth it because I kind of like the fight. Okay. Well, no, I talked to Jeff about this on the XM show. I'm watching Ray Donovan, which I really like, and at one point, Katie Holmes, who, she doesn't want him to leave the place. I can't remember what she says, but she says, I think you just like the fight, or you're just addicted to the fight. It's not just getting it done, it's also fighting, which I think is true of me also. Like, I like the fight. But it's not just that. I wrote it out, and I laid it out, and I also feel like I made a point, which I do on this podcast, on the radio show, about how we have this sort of financialization of everything. Everything's like set up to make you do all this shit, and like, oh, well, your choices are A or B, and they're both bad, and you can't do anything because it's policy, and policy's inflexible, and and I just felt like I was able to highlight that and make them pay for that policy. Like, they had to refund me, but also there were like 50 people who were saying, I'm never using this again. Obviously, the article got read, more than 3,000 times, because you can look at your stats on Medium, meaning all these people know that Expedia owns them now, and that it's a conglomerate that has these shitty policies. So I feel like, my goal was to punish them and to get my money back, but also, like, I think I want everybody to act like that when they get cheated. I want everybody to go World War III and love the fight, to the point where those policies they just can't be sustainable, because it's just not worth it in terms of their time and effort and and just customer service time, and they're just so hated, and it's just such a negative thing on social media that they just simply cannot. If you make an error and it's 3 months out, they just fix it for you, because that's just much cheaper than doing what they tried to do to me.
I don't watch Ray Donovan. It's far too realistic for me. I wish that show would just take a leap every once in a while, just for entertainment purposes. Take a leap.
The thing is, I hear what you're saying. Like, it is unrealistic, like all the crazy shit that happens, but it's very realistic in terms of the characters are very consistent and believable, like how they are. Like, Mickey is Mickey. Like, he's always Mickey. And Ray is pretty much Ray. Like, they're all, Bunchy is Bunchy. Like, Terry's Terry. Like, they're all good characters and good actors. They're not, like, jumping out of character and doing shit that they wouldn't normally do. Secondly, everything they go about, they do it in the way that they would do it. And secondly, it's the dialogue is good and realistic. You never feel like there's, like, a fake line or some line that's there to, like, just pander to somebody. It's all real sounding. The shit that actually happens is super unrealistic. But I can deal with a show that has real themes, real characters, and real dialogue. The shit that I don't like is those shows like that. I couldn't even watch that. Was it Mindhunter or something, that show on Netflix? Yeah. It was just like, I was listening to dialogue. I was like, this shit is so fake. It's embarrassing. I couldn't watch it.
Is this one? Yes, that scene was bad. Yes.
So bad. Well, that was the first episode. I was like, I can't watch this shit.
All right. Okay. Well,
Anyone who would not cut out that episode cannot make a good show, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
well, I mean, I would give you a hard time, but I've watched every episode of Ray Donovan, so I can't give you that hard of a
I'm
time.
only in season 4. I'm only in season 4.
And like Shriver or whatever, I ever say his name, and Voight, like both get nominated for like legit awards. By the way,
like really good.
like Emmys and stuff. So but anyway, okay, no, I'm with you. It's entertaining, but circling back, congratulations, and it's more than just the money. It's just the principle of winning that, and just the fight. Actually, it paid off.
Yeah, it's not just the fight; it's the fight and winning. And I was right. I was in the right, and they were in the wrong. And the only thing
were they super apologetic on the phone?
No, she wasn't that nice. I said, listen, one thing I'll just say is I really, you can just do a pop up. Like if there's if it's so draconian to change before you book, it should say like tap Portugal. It shouldn't be some fine print and there's a link that's not even in display. I actually screenshotted each page when you sign up in my blog.
Right.
And I was like, there's nowhere that it says it here. You'd actually have to click on a fine print link and then open up another pop-up to see what TAP's policies were when you book through a third party and that they're not changeable. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you have to at least have a pop-up that says, hey, be careful before you book. Be sure this is the right date, right? I mean, that's just...
What was the response? What was the response?
She was like, it's disclosed in that, you can see that it's disclosed. Blah, 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 blah. And then she dinged me because she said, I can see that you got refunded last year. Heather fought like crazy and got something refunded when I changed the flight. It was a little different from Orbitz, and it was on tap. So she's like, you knew already. And I said, well, I didn't even actually answer that because it is true. We sort of knew about tap was bad. But in our defense, like, we booked so many different flights since then, so it wasn't like we're on the lookout. And also, it wouldn't have really mattered in this case because she just made an error. Like, she made a mistake. So she would have thought, yeah, that's fine. We know which one we want. But actually, she accidentally, booked the wrong one. So she tried to be like, well, you knew and whatever. But there's no defense for that. I mean, if the policy is really bad for you, if you do book this flight, it's got to come up in a pop-up. And the reason they don't do that is because people wouldn't use third-party sites then, right? It's like, why would I risk that? Why would I lock myself in? Whereas if I book straight on tap, I can actually make a change if I need to.
Right. Right.
So,
right. Well,
anyway,
no, good stuff.
I took the money.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
cool.
miles.
Right. And will you use them again?
No, fuck no. Hell no.
Okay.
Why would I lock myself into something that's that inflexible? Heather likes them. Heather's used them for like 15 years. So, but
okay.
No way. All right. You want to talk a little Super Bowl? You got anything else for me?
Yeah, well, I was going to jump back real quick. You were talking about Andy Behrens and those awards. I know they're not exactly the same company. I think it's FSWA is the one that Andy's the president of, in which we were nominated this podcast last year. But what happened? What happened?
I put your name on it this year.
That's what happened. Yes. Okay. Right.
Last year you were whining like a nutless monkey that I only took credit for myself, and that apparently 2 years in a row we were nominated. By the way. Not just last year, 2016 and 17.
I don't think I realized.
And the 1 year I put your name on it, we don't get nominated.
That sounds about right. Okay. That sounds about right. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Liss. Okay. What did you think of the championship games?
I thought they were good. I thought, that Jacksonville was disappointing because they should have won. They should have they just got really too conservative, but they were too conservative. The refs were very New England friendly with those ticky-tack pass interference calls. There's also like I remember one play where Jacksonville was rushing Brady, and it was such a blatant hold. They didn't call it. But Brady's a badass. I mean, even with all that, it's like he was down 10 points in the fourth quarter to an elite defense, and he just got it done. Without Gronk, right. And he just got it done yet again.
Yeah. No, it's unreal. It's crazy. It's just like almost at this point, it's just foregone conclusion. It's anticlimactic. It's expected. It's almost like it's so easy to take them in the Super Bowl because we've seen this so many times.
Yeah, I mean, last year I'm still pissed when they had the Falcons because that should not have happened. It was 28-3. But yeah, I mean he's not going to crack. They wear you down. They tire you out. They hurry it up. It's no matter how good your defense is, it's just really hard to withstand sort of a consistent, QB that's constantly getting the ball out, constantly knows where everyone's going to be. They're executing over and over again, and you just get worn down. And that's why I took him. I just think like Foles had an amazing game. I mean, Foles played even better than Brady. Foles was perfect. I mean, it was one of the best games I've seen by a quarterback all year. He was just throwing under duress, but pinpoint.
Did you think that Miles Jack play was a touchdown?
Oh, the one where
fumble.
I don't know why they blew the whistle. I mean, that was kind of stupid, but why not just let him play and then review it later,
Right. Yeah, no, the other game, man, how about them just going down 7-0 immediately? The Vikings, it's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
It's going to go like we expected the week before with this Eagles team, and then just what a crazy. I mean, remember, I know you know well the last time the Vikings were in the championship game, they also were road favorites against your Giants.
Yep.
Not quite as bad as 41-0, but man, what just a total joke. I didn't see that coming.
That was a great game. I got so rocked the night before. This is in 2000. That I overslept. In LA, the games are at 10. Well, yeah, where you are too. And I'd been, in New York the year before, or a couple. That's not true. It was 2000. I'd gone to the West Coast in 1997, so I guess I was used to it. But I got so rocked that I literally overslept, and I woke up. I was like, oh shit, it's 10:30. Like my team's in the championship game.
Right.
There's no DVR. There's no catching up. It's just back in the day, it was just. It is what it is.
That was like 21-0 immediately.
14-0 when I turned on the TV, and I was like, "Oh shit!" What did I? This is awesome. And they just killed them. And of course, the Ravens. That was a horrible Super Bowl. And it's funny because shout out to my buddy Johnny Giusio from back in New York. Johnny Giusio is a huge Giants fan. I would say bigger Giants fan than me. And he said that he bet 11 grand on the Giants against the Ravens that Super Bowl, and got blacked out by the third quarter. Totally blacked out, and went upstairs to his bed, and everyone was at his house watching, and he went to sleep and woke up the next day. Imagine the hangover you'd have. Not like even remembering the end of the game or even a lot of the game, and then checking the score, realizing what you'd bet on it, being that hungover. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that'd be a rough one. Yeah. No, that was crazy. I had that teaser. All I needed were the Vikings, +4, because I had the Pats. I just needed them to win, basically. And that was, I didn't see that blowout coming. But the Eagles, I mean, what did Foles get? You said he played great, but what did he actually get? 6.0 YPA or something?
No, 10 or something.
Did he get 10? Okay, I thought I looked at that wrong. That makes far more sense. But that's his. Okay, all right.
11 maybe. I mean, he was throwing under duress and beautiful throws to Alshon Jeffrey. That one to Torrey Smith was such a good throw. He didn't even have to do anything. It just hit him. He was covered.
I was looking at some over/under prop bets writing in 10.7. You're right. Okay, all right. I totally looked at that wrong. Okay, obviously I knew he played well. I thought there might be okay. So what do you make of this now? I mean, it's all I know is I will say is that Swamp League, this Salfino Run League, how that goes, the one and done.
Right. Yeah.
Man, it's getting popular. It's a lot of entries, probably 90 entries, and it's $50. It's a decent payout. And I'm top 10, and I have all Patriots with Dion Lewis, and so I'm set up pretty good. I mean, I have Brady, Gronk, Hogan, Cooks, defense, kicker, everything. So we'll see how that goes. But wish me luck.
Yeah, you got it. It's a lock. You got it.
Thank you. So
it's over. So spend the money now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Just like I already did next year's Super Contest. Already have.
Of course.
All right. So what do you make of the Super Bowl? Let's talk the big game.
Immediately after the games, I was like, Foles is legit, and he was good in 2013, and maybe he's good, and you see how Jeff Fisher destroyed. Foles was there too, but Case Keenum and Jared Goff, and what a difference a system makes for a quarterback. And you think, okay, with Doug Peterson, maybe Foles is legit. Maybe Foles is like Goff or something, where he's now good. Again, now that he's in a good system, and he obviously was good for 13 straight games, when he had one of the best seasons of all time on an efficiency basis. So I was like, yeah, maybe they're good, and obviously the rest of the team is good. But the more I thought about it after a week, I sat on it. I wasn't sure. I was like, you know what? This team was underdogs to the Falcons. The Falcons could have beat them if they just made a good play call at the goal line. They were underdogs at home to the Vikings. And the hypothetical line before the Vikings game and before the Jaguars game was Patriots -7. And so now it's gone all the way to 4.5. And why? I don't think it's because of how the Patriots performed without Gronk. I don't think that really moved the needle. I think it's because Foles, against that defense, played that well. But, I wrote it up in my column. First off, the Eagles their defense is good, but it really struggles against hurry-up. And Brady's the master of the hurry-up, so that's a bad matchup for them. And all those short pass catchers like Lewis and Burkhead and Amendola and Cooks, they can all just catch short passes whenever they want. And secondly, the thing that makes Brady an all-time great and makes him not Nick Foles is consistency, right? Foles showed he can play at a Brady-like level, which he did last week, 2 weeks ago. But the difference between Foles and Brady is that Brady does it like, 75, 80% of the time, and Foles might do it 30, 40% of the time, 20% of the time. And it's really the difference, right? Because Joe Flacco could be a superstar quarterback for a couple playoff games, but if you look at the likelihood of who's going to crack between Brady and Foles, and with the game on the line and 2 weeks to prepare, I would say Foles is the one who's going to crack. So I laid the wood. I have it 31-23 Patriots.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And what do you make of the Patriots just not ever scoring? I don't even know the exact amount. Is it really negative 2 points in the first quarter in 7 Super Bowls? I mean, is that what it is? I mean, that's absurd. For a team with 2 weeks to prepare, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I know they defer, but I mean,
they played the Giants twice when the Giants' defense was pretty badass. They played the Seahawks that one game, although they ended up scoring points later. They played some good defenses. I don't know. I'm not really.
Falcons.
Sure.
I know it's just weird. It's just weird though. I mean, it's
it's random to me. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about all the money, the line moving? 2 points and seemingly sharps and the public are all over the Eagles. Does that mean anything to you?
No, not at all.
Not even a little, right?
No.
Okay.
Who knows who the sharp is and what? It's just like that idea of like. I thought about it. It took me like a week before I had a lean, and then I was like, I feel pretty good about this.
Okay, and you're laying the points.
I'm laying the wood, yeah.
You're laying the wood. Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, same here. No, absolutely, yeah. I think I'm honestly going to legitimately bet the money line. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they blow them out.
Right.
And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they just kill them, and Foles is like, oh, of course, it's Foles. This is the team that was going to be a big underdog, and they just had 2 home games, and things happen. They do have a solid defense, but they get behind and just they could get ugly, and it could seemingly 3 hours before be like, this was so obvious we should have seen it coming. I could see that.
Yeah, I like the Patriots minus 21.5 at 8-1.
I saw that, and I saw that no huddle stat too. That's interesting. You can dissect things so many different ways, but I might just Belichick, and they've been there, and Brady, and they're relatively healthy. I mean, they played the Super Bowl last year without Gronk. I mean, they're healthy, assuming his hand's fine. And yeah, I don't know. I just can't. This Eagles team's fine, but I mean, they allowed a ton of passing touchdowns. I don't think they're like historic. I mean, they're okay, but
they're not an elite defense. Like when I look at the Super Bowl, first checklist is an elite defense.
I know.
Top 5 in the last 10 years, and if it is, that's who I'm taking with the points. No questions asked. I don't care what the names on the jerseys are. That's who I'm taking. If that's not the case, and it is not the case here, Eagles defense was above average, Patriots was average, then okay. Then what's the next paradigm that this fits into? What's the next sort of, how do we look at it? And to me, it looks like one of those games where we gave the Eagles no chance. We didn't even think they were going to make it to the Super Bowl. Nobody in their playoff pools was really loading up on Eagles, right? Part of it is because it's hard to know who's going to do well on the team, but no one's really loading up on Eagles. And so what happens is the team unexpectedly gets through, and even they did it impressively, obviously, against the Vikings. And then there's 2 weeks between, so the hype starts growing. Oh, the Eagles could do it. This is their chance. And usually in that case, the team that we expected to be there all along kills the team that had no business being there all along, and not in their nice little run notwithstanding. So, the Vikings, I really think they were in a bad spot last week, traveling after that crazy emotional win where they're like celebrating, going crazy. The next week they're back in practice. Not that that's an excuse, but I just didn't think it was a good setup for them. I didn't think they'd get killed like that. I actually thought they were going to win, but it's not that surprising that they got beat, and once the wheels came off, they came off. But, I think the way I look at this is, it's like when the Bears made it through against the Colts that year, or like, I guess the Bears were the number 1 seed, but I guess the Eagles are too, but nobody thought they were good.
Yes.
They lost Tommy Harris, who was their best defensive player, and they weren't the same team.
Right. Well, in a weird way, it's easier for an inferior team to get as the 1 seed because you just need to win 2 home games.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like an inferior team. However you got there, it's easier to win 2 games. Obviously, both being at home. So obviously there's a big difference here at quarterback position. So it's just massive. So if you were to bet, would you prefer to bet on, say, the Pats minus 200 or Brady to win MVP, say minus 150?
I thought it was like plus 150. I think Stopa
Yeah,
got plus
Stopa
160.
got that. I can't get that now. That's crazy.
Okay.
That's great for him. That's amazing. That's a no-brainer. But let's say it moves the juice, just something like that for you, because that's
minus 200. The money line wouldn't. Oh, right. I see minus 200 because it's 4.5. Right. So it's like minus 200, or it would be minus 160 for Brady MVP.
Minus 150 or whatever, somewhere around there, give or take, whatever. Just for the exercise, right around there.
I think it's about the same, right? Like I think there's like a 20% chance, 25 if the Patriots win, that it's Deion Lewis, Gronk, or Cooks. I think are the guys who could be MVP. I don't think it'll be a defensive player on the Pats, although
it could be. Who was that? Was that Larry Brown?
Yeah, like you get a pick six and you get 2 picks.
Neil O'Donnell literally like threw directly to him like twice.
Right.
But yeah. So last year I was going nuts. I made a big bet on Brady to win MVP, and I was just going crazy in overtime. And I just thought it was a foregone conclusion, but I mean, you realize James White had
14 catches.
14 catches,
yeah.
3 touchdowns, and 140 yards. Like he easily.
And Brady still won it.
Yeah, that's part of the advantage is it is a vote, and of course people vote for Brady because they slurp Brady. But anyway, that would have been ridiculous. That would have been like going nuts, cheering, and I actually don't care about the Patriots. And then if I saw James White up there holding the trophy, I would have gone nuts. But anyway, I'm with you. I think the Patriots cover this game. And were you going to bet on it at all? I know you're such a coward, a nutless monkey. You probably won't.
Well, I have a small bet with Davis Maddock because that was the only person who offered me one. Yeah, I probably will. I probably will bet it. Just like maybe $300-400, something like that. Last year I'm still scarred from last year where I had about 500 plus some alternate line bets on the Falcons, like Falcons minus 7.5 at like 3.5 to 1 or something like that. Falcons minus 7.5. Think about that. They were up 28-3. Okay, like that was coming in, right? I was gonna win like I don't know $900, something like that, and I ended up losing 600, or something like that. And it was, I was sitting in Barcelona in a hotel room watching with my headphones with Heather and Sasha sleeping in the bed, and me sitting on the chair with my headphones at 4:30 in the morning, being so enraged and I couldn't even yell. I was on Twitter like tweeting all this shit. Actually, I'm going to do this for the first time ever since I was 14 when I was on a ski trip. We were drinking. I was 14, and we were barely watching the Bears Patriots. I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl in real time. I'm going to watch it the next day on Rewind. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, fuck it. Those commercials are so stupid. I don't give a shit at all about that stuff. Oh, let's see what the commercials are. Who gives a fuck? I mean, this is so stupid. The fact that people care about that's like embarrassing to care about that.
Well, it's also in today's day, you can watch. I bet you could watch half of them online right now if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean,
why would you want to? I mean, it's just a bunch of shit products and stupid trying to be funny stuff. So, look how clever that was. It's fucking commercials, Like watch a movie, watch a show. Jesus Christ. So I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'll just watch. So like it'll be fun. I'll wake up the next morning, like try to have no connection to any media, not check my email or anything, and then just I won't know who won the Super Bowl or how it went, and then I'll watch. While you guys are sleeping in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go to a Super Bowl party, I can never even hear the commercials anyway. If I'm like around a group of people and you're like trying to get an appetizer, a drink, bathroom break, it's always just crazy anyway. But that will be interesting because So you do you think it'll actually mess with you knowing that this event actually already occurred on Earth and everyone else knows about it?
Right, except me, a little bit. So like
it has to, right? It does, right?
Well, I did it with the Eagles game. So I watched the Jags Pats in real time, but I didn't watch. I was like, I'm not watching this Eagles game in real time. It's too late.
That was late, yeah.
So it's late. I'm 8 hours behind you. Okay. Right. So I just waited the next morning. I'm like, there's a team in the Super Bowl, and I don't know which one it is. And when the Vikings scored the touchdown, I'm like, oh, obviously it's the Vikings, right? But like everybody else had seen the entire result of it. So I'm gonna do it that way. I think.
Okay. All right. Interesting. That'll be fun.
Especially if I put some serious money on it, because that was so annoying not being able to get to bed, being so enraged at like 5 a.m., being on vacation and being like, this is ruining my whole next day, and I'm so pissed.
Right.
I was like, I'm counting my money. I'm like, sweet, I'm having $900 extra bucks. I'll take us out to a Michelin starred restaurant tomorrow night. I'll do some, and then suddenly to be in debt $600. That was terrible.
Right. Yeah, I'll bet the money line, and I think they'll win, and they could blow them out. I fear it actually will be ugly in a boring game, but who knows?
I hope so.
You hope so, yeah. What about? I saw you did a blog before we wrap this up. Did you want to talk about any props you liked? I mean, obviously they're always funny, the national anthem and the coin toss and all that. Same shit, different year.
Yeah, so I like all the like Brady attempts, Brady completions, Brady yards. I think they're going to hurry it up based on that stat that Pat Thorman of Pro Football Focus that I quoted in
Uh-huh.
the Beating the Book article. I think they realize that's the way to beat the Eagles and to keep the pass rush off of them and to keep them from substituting and staying fresh. And the Eagles are also very good against the run. I think Brady's going to throw a ton, complete a ton, get a ton of yards. So I like all the overs on that. The other thing I liked, I saw there's LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi, and its first carry over under 3.5 yards. And you think, well, Ajayi averaged 5.8 yards per carry with the Eagles. Like, over under's 3.5, take the over.
Yeah.
But
Right. You got to look at success rate, right? That's success rate.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
That's right. So the squares will be like, well, I'll take the over. He averages way more than that. But you don't average the number, right? It's like you get more than that like on 40% of your carries because you get 30 on one, and then you get like 3, 1, 1, 30. And then you average 5.8. So I would bet, anything like that I would bet. I
think like the fresher the defensive lineman, the tougher too. I mean, maybe that's totally anecdotal, but it feels that way.
Yeah. I think so. So, right. So like later in the game, you're saying like that's when they do break their bigger ones. Yeah, I think that's sort of a trick line, and you're actually laying like minus 120 for that shit or something because the sharps know that, and the squares are like, oh, I can get plus 115. He's just got, it just seems like a bet to trick the public into transferring money to the sharps, and maybe the public is lucky.
Right. There's some field goal ones that I always feel like I'm like, oh, that's what the line is, but it always does hit. I forget what that is. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I said I like over 26.5 yards for the shortest field goal of the game.
Oh, okay.
And the only way I think that happens is if the Patriots, if it's like a tie game with like 10 seconds left and they just kick the chip shot to win it. Like both of these coaches are not nutless monkeys, and they know that you just don't try a 22-yard field goal, which is like from the 5-yard line, very often. You're usually going to go for it and not end up kicking. So, I would take the over on that, but I'm not strong on that. And the biggest one is the Patriots minus 21.5 at 8-1, and I actually even like the Eagles minus 14.5 at like 9-1 because I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, blowouts happen all the time. I just think like I want to just have some huge payout in the event of a blowout.
There was a stretch there where every Super Bowl was a blowout, wasn't it? Like a 5, 6, 7-year stretch.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and you don't really see it coming. But think about the Vikings were favored last week and they got blown out. Imagine with the odds you would have got on that, like Eagles minus 21.5. You would have got like ridiculous odds on that.
Right, and theoretically, they're not as familiar with each other in a different conference, and neither are at home, and all the other media and the family stuff asking for tickets and all that other circus. It just does seem like they're, it makes sense. Yeah, that something crazy could happen. My point is, so I could see it either way. So I like that. I like going to extremes on both those, giving points to with the Eagles. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, So we'll see. I'm going to try to get a bunch of those in. I'll probably have like $500 at play.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Something like that. Nothing crazy.
Gotcha. Makes sense. What else? What else going on? Oh man, what's up with their Bitcoin?
It's been kind of like stuck between 10 and 12,000 the last few weeks, and which is like a pretty big correction from its peak, like at 20. But I mean, it doesn't. First of all, I got it a lot cheaper than that. Although I got a little bit more at more expensive than that, but little snippets of it, not a whole lot of money. But I'm just sort of like lock it away in my cold storage. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. If it goes below 10, I might buy another sliver here and there. So just keep adding to my position if it goes down. But I don't have enough money that if it went to zero that I would be life-changing. And I just believe in the philosophy. I believe in what it means. And I do think if you ever watch, I would watch like as many Andreas Antonopoulos videos as you can to like get more into like what it is, what the philosophy of it is. Not really the philosophy of it, but what it really means. And his point is just like what the internet did for communication and being able to communicate with anybody at any time, and the way it revolutionized it. And newspapers are dying, and all the sort of guardians of, communication and media. Like, this conversation, right? Like, I don't know, 500 people will watch it, 1,000 people will watch it. That was not possible before the internet, right? Like, unless you worked you do work for Yahoo now. God knows they'll hire anybody at this point. But, if you didn't work for like a major outlet, you couldn't communicate to that many people at any point. There's just no way to do it. And he said what the internet did for media and communication, Bitcoin and the blockchain, but mostly Bitcoin, is going to do for money. So you're
Right.
it's going to be a whole different world of money. And he kind of thinks like your daughter and son will not know what a bank is because it just won't be necessary. So.
All right, so over under on a given day, I'll say 23.5 times you check the current price.
That would have been, I would take the over in like November when I like every week it was going up another 1,000, and I kept taking screenshots and sending it to Heather, like, because she was mocking me when I bought it for 4,600, and it was like 5,700 because it went right down to 3,200. It was 57, 62, 72, and then it was at like 19,600, and I would send her that screenshot, and I was like, yeah, how do you like me now, right? How do you like this? But now that it's kind of been between 10 and 11, and it's toggled below 10 a little bit. I don't check it that much, maybe twice a day. Sometimes I'll go a whole day and forget because I'm just, the mania is worn off, and
Okay.
I miss the mania. I'm not going to lie to you, but no, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not selling no matter what. If it dips below 10, again, I may just keep buying a little, 0.1, 0.2, a little bit here, a little bit there, add to the position.
Yeah, no, I think it has dipped below 10, hasn't it?
It had, yeah. I got a little bit. I got a 0.2 at below 10.
Oh, yeah, okay, it's right around there. Okay, yeah, all right.
So.
Yeah. All right, well, I wanted to bring that up to you. I hope it's no.
How in are you? You just put that first investment in, right? The 1,500.
Yeah, just the first investment.
Now it's
So
worth
I
like
still-
1,000. Now it's worth 1,000. You're 1,500, right?
just letting it chill where let it go. It's
But
fine.
you lost like 30% of your money already, right? Like
I've
it's
lost,
down.
yeah, probably around, sure, yeah, that makes sense. Yes,
Okay.
right around there. Yeah,
Okay.
so far.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't sweat it.
Okay.
Whatever you do, don't sell it, and get yourself some cold storage. Get it out of Coinbase.
I know. I do need to do that still. So what else we got going on? You said you were tired. You know what I did the other day, dude? I stubbed my toe on the side of my door, and it's like swollen up, and it's like black and blue, and I can barely walk. Have you ever done this? What can a doctor do? Like, there's nothing you can do with a pinky toe, can they?
I mean, I stubbed my toe before and gotten it black and blue. If you broke it, they sometimes can tape it so it doesn't get
Right.
jostled and the bone can heal straight. It doesn't heal crooked. I don't think they can really do much. I mean, as long as it's not infected
Yeah.
or something, I don't really see.
Yeah.
Real man doesn't.
Bone's not sticking out.
What's that?
Bone's not sticking out or anything yet, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give another day or two. We'll see. I don't know. I might have to go. I don't want it to grow, as you said. Maybe I'll need it taped or something. But
Yeah.
it's kind of painful, man. What a klutz I am. It's horrible.
You could just go Ronnie Lott. Real man goes Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true. Could do that. All right, so that's all I got for you. I did a video pod with Pat Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
You know Pat?
I do know him. Yeah, I mean a little bit.
With okay, he's a good guy. He had me just talking all about my favorite TV shows of the past year. It's like 90 minutes if you want to listen to that. It's probably too much, but anyway, so go to my Twitter or whatever and check out a video pod with me and Pat bullshitting about TV.
Check out
that's
Dalton's Twitter. Okay, so we'll promote for once in your life. We'll let you promote something because you never promote.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, well, you know how that because it went so well for you to attach my name to the awards too. So the nominations.
They're going to watch that thing and they're never going to go back to this podcast. But Dalton Del Don did something different. It's on Pat Mayo's video cast, his TV show,
Sure.
his webcast.
Or podcast,
whatever you want to call it. And you can go check out at Dalton Del Don. And what did you pin it to the top of your?
Yeah, it's
profile?
up. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I retweeted a bunch of it. You'll find it.
You just pin it.
Yeah, I know. I need to do that.
Just
I need
pin
to do
it,
better.
And then just do it for a week, and then you can unpin it. Check it out. One other thing, if you like this podcast, well, first of all, if this is going to be on YouTube, if I can figure this shit out, which is, I'd say 40-60 against, but it's certainly possible. Comment on YouTube, send it around. That we appreciate that. Also, obviously, it's going to be in the normal iTunes, and in that case, give it 5 stars. If you feel like rating it, give a comment. We do appreciate that. And if you're into fantasy sports, we're going to start talking fantasy baseball. I don't know if we'll do one next week. We'll think about it. Might take a break or whatever, but maybe we'll do one. But certainly we're going to be starting baseball, starting to talk about the players we like and getting ready for our drafts. So All right.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully the video works this time. You can see your beautiful Lisbon behind you, and people see it looks like I'm broadcasting from a.
I can't see what I look like or where the camera's pointing because.
I can see it. You can. I can
oh,
see
it's fine. Okay, good. Because all I can see
Yeah.
is your mug, so that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I know your backdrop's slightly better than mine, so
I see how much you upgraded it. You really made the effort. Nice work.
Yeah, no, I did not do anything. No, that's how little faith I have in you having the ability to make this work.
Right, exactly. You must have little faith because you would have done something. Because
Yeah,
you don't have to
exactly.
tell people that you didn't do anything because it's pretty obvious that you didn't do anything.
All right, man. That's all you got. So 27-20 is my. What 3 of the 5 of us in staff picks have the same exact score?
Well, I mean, it's a nutless monkey score because it's right on common numbers.
Right.
I have
Close to
31-23.
Okay.
You're barely under because it's 48.5. I'm over.
Right.
I like the over.
Makes sense.
All right. All right, dude.
Yeah. Well, everyone should be fading me anyway. What a horrible year.
Oh, my
What a horrible year I had. But
I can't even believe you did the playoffs. You should have just stayed home.
I know. It's pathetic.
Terrible.
All right, man. All right, Liss.
Take it easy, Dalton.
All right. Later, man.
Later.